Welcome back, everybody, to the Mind Your Own Business podcast. Today, we have only distinguished guests, by the way, Richard Gamble. Richard Gamble is an expert in real estate and all things business. We're going to dive deep today. He's got a lot of cool stories to share with us, his background, his history, where he's going. And I think he's going to give us some gold nuggets today and unlock some secrets that he's never told anybody before. Richard, welcome to the show, man. Happy to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for having me, brother. I'm excited to be here. Can't wait to get into it.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm excited too. And we've been working on trying to get together for quite a while now. Richard and I are in a couple of different mastermind groups together. We started off in some real estate mastermind groups together. And I quickly realized that I didn't want to be a general partner in real estate and multifamily. However, Richard has taken that path. And so why don't you go ahead and tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, like your background, kind of how you started in business. And did you get into real estate when you were like a toddler or a little bit after that?
Slightly after, man. I kind of a funny story about my start into real estate, and then I'll actually go into my start in real estate. You know, my dad, we did live-in flips or whatever you want to call them, pretty much house hacking, I guess, my entire life. And he was always very real estate passionate, but he had the fear, right? He couldn't get over, you know, some of the fear that cripples people, the analysis paralysis. He was an accountant by trade, so he was very analytical, and he couldn't get over the fear, man. So he trained me on everything, and it, kind of my start happened honestly in 2009, maybe 2010, somewhere around there. I was listening to Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which somebody had recommended to me. And I was listening to that and, you know, hearing the book, and I used to drive a lot. I lived in the Bay Area, which I'm sure you're familiar with, a lot of traffic. And I spent a lot of time in my car. So I finished the book in a day and a half or so. The minute I finished the book, I called my dad and I didn't say anything to him. He picks up and I just say, yeah, hey, you were right. And he's like, about what? And I was like,
which time?
The whole thing, man. My entire life, he told me never work for somebody else. My entire life, he told me the most important thing in the world is sales. My entire life, he told me, you know, your ability as a human to communicate with another human is the most critical thing you can learn. And luckily, I listened to him. I mean, I'm a sales guy by trade. Or by nature. You know, I enjoy talking to people. I love networking, and really, you know, for me, that was one of the big keys in the book was that interaction with humans, selling or sales as a, you know, whether you're trying to secure your significant other or get a better job or do something in the entrepreneurial space. Either way, sales is life, you know? So anyways, I told him that, and I had to go into it and explain it to him. And I don't know why it took me hearing Kiyosaki saying the same things that I heard my dad saying to believe it. The only thing I can think of is that my dad wasn't doing those things, right? You tell me my whole life, here's the blueprint, here's how you do it, here's how you become, you know, wealthy and successful and whatever. And I see those things not happening. It's hard to buy in, right? And then I heard it from somebody else, and it all rang true, man. It gave me a new respect for my father, because I know he was correct my whole life, but also it gave me a path to start on. So that's kind of how we began. So in roughly 2010, we were living in California at the time. We had been there a couple of years, moving from Georgia to the Bay Area right during the GFC. And we were there in 2008, 2009, 2010. And we started our real estate journey in 2010 and actually found it to be ridiculously difficult to try to break in to the investing space, even though it was arguably the worst, you know, housing market in the history of the world and in one of the worst hit areas in the world, and we still couldn't get into it, man. It was very difficult for us to get started. I think obviously we made considerable amount of mistakes. I think if we went back today and did it again, we might have better luck breaking in, but it was still very difficult. So we tried to start in 2010, and we ended up really getting started in 2014. I had a few good things happen, a few bad things happen. My parents lived in Tennessee at the time. Like I said, we were in the Bay Area. My mom got sick, so we decided we wanted to move back to be a little closer to her and spend some time with her, help my dad. My job was eliminated at the time. I was extremely overpaid. So I guess it was only a matter of time, but I had the option to stay with the company or take a severance package. We opted for the severance package because literally my mom called me one day and said she had gotten a pretty bad diagnosis. And then 3 days later, my boss called me to tell me that my job had been eliminated. So kind of perfect timing, to be honest. At that point, it was 2014. The housing market had kind of rebounded in California. So we were actually in a pretty good position on our house. Mm-hmm. So we had, you know, good equity. We had a severance package, and we had the motivation to move. So we moved back to Tennessee, moved to Tennessee. Man, we went all in. A lot of people talk about kind of starting slow and keeping your job and working your way up until you can support yourself with cash flow and whatnot. We quit our jobs. We just left everything. Came to Tennessee with absolutely no plan of ever being employed again.
I love it.
Came here, and the intention was we were going to start flipping, and then we were probably going to just flip at least for the foreseeable future. I don't think we really had a long-term plan. The plan was to be flippers at the time. And then due to market conditions and some other things, we actually ended up doing buy and holds instead. And then we still did a little bit of flipping, to keep food in the fridge and gas in the tank. We had to do the occasional flip, but not really the path that we wanted or the direction we were going. So, being buy and hold investors since 2015, really, I think 2014 in December is when we bought our first house. So really right there at the end of the year, being buy and hold investors since then. We started with single families. We moved into small multi, kind of doing the normal graduation process, which I would not do it that way. If I had to go back again, I would instantly jump into bigger projects. But we did the small graduation, did single families, duplex, triplex, quadplex. And then somewhere around 2020, we started to transition and go into the bigger, mid-sized multifamily, 20 to 50 units, let's say. And now our buy box is roughly a 50 unit is kind of what we're looking at, unless it's right here in our home market. In our home market, because of the infrastructure we have, we would buy a little smaller. So we would probably buy in the 16 plus space here in our local market. We recently, because we had some trouble finding deals over the course of the last 18 months, which I'm sure, a lot of people have. So we decided to make a small pivot and focus on some other things to try to bring in the same revenue goals and try to still achieve our cash flow goal that we had written down without necessarily adding any new units, because we were having a lot of trouble really finding anything that worked on paper, partially due to the economy and the way things are, and partially just due to the fact that we weren't really pushing it that hard, because I think we wanted to pivot. So we pivoted and we started a property management company. So we opened a property management company. We have been self-managed since we started the process. And funny side story, so the company is called 10th Door Property Management, and the name came from the fact that I told my wife at our 10th door we would hire a property manager.
Love it.
Roughly 10 times that we started the process of hiring a property manager. So we're almost there on the property. We're almost there. So we started a property management company, and then we started the two things that you see here behind me. So we've got a local meetup that we do, like an in-person, very similar to like a RIA event, REIA event, one night a month, get together, have a speaker, have some free food, chit chat for a while, network.
And that's been growing pretty wildly lately.
Yeah.
What's your average show up?
About 100.
It's huge, man.
Meeting, it's funny because it has probably been one of the most rewarding things of my professional career. Like, we started it, and it's kind of a funny story. We started it with no intention. We just wanted, myself and the partner that we started it with, we just wanted a place to go hang out and talk about real estate. And there was not really a meeting that fit our box here in town. There wasn't a meeting where folks came, that had seen some success. Most of the meetings that were there were for new folks.
Mm-hmm.
I've done 1 or 2 flips. I've got 1 or 2 rentals. They were really a very entry-level type meeting. We wanted something where people came that had a little bit more experience. Also, obviously new folks are completely welcome. So we wanted to start a meeting that had the right group of people there that would attract folks who had a little bit more success and a little bit more experience, but also welcoming and really open for folks that were starting out. So we started the meeting. Our lowest meeting ever, we had 73 people. That was the first meeting, and they've kind of gone up from there and fluctuated right around 100 people. So it's been tremendously successful, and just so, from a personal perspective, so rewarding. It's a lot of fun to watch people network and grow, and folks, that came 12 months ago to a meeting, and you see them form partnerships, and you see them kind of moving on in their career, their journey, and it's super exciting. So that's awesome. And then from that, we had, keep pointing the wrong direction here. So from that, we had a lot of requests for people requested for us to start something more about like a coaching group, something more intimate. We started a mastermind. And that, man, I said that the meetup has been so awesome and so rewarding. And I think the mastermind, although it's just kind of getting started, I believe it will eclipse that in feel good factor, man, because it's way more intimate. Obviously, we have a better connection with folks. It's, every single week and 4 times we do a Zoom call, and then 4 times a year we do an in-person meeting, similar to some of the groups that we're in together. And obviously in that one, you get really, deep relationships built, really deep opportunities to network and partner and see things happen. So it's so cool, man. I love it. So I'm glad we pivoted a little bit, and I think we took our foot off the gas on the real estate side a bit, but now that the market is kind of transitioning, we're really seeing deals ramping back up. And obviously, the networking just helps put us in the position to really find those deals and, be there to help other folks capitalize on their deals, but also put us in a position to find some that we never would have found previously.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's kind of up in a nutshell.
And so there's a lot to unpack there, obviously, but let's go on the heels of the mastermind thing, right? So you've brought a number of people together into a virtual room or a room, and not only does it help them talk about deals and talk about the struggles they're going through, but it also creates these partnerships where you can plug people together, like, oh, you have money, but no deal. You got a deal, but no money. Boom, you put them together.
For sure.
Right? Really simple stuff like that. But then it also creates deal flow opportunity for the entire room, because you have multiple different people with different skill sets that can come together, whereas they might have never met each other before.
Yeah.
And so it's like a shortcut. It's like any of the other groups that you or I are involved in. Instead of grinding for years and years and years, which you and I have both done, we're now put ourselves in a position where we have the tools at our disposal to now level up. Like, I don't even know, like a video game where you like power up and you skip a level.
Yeah.
That's exactly what these groups do for people. So can you talk a little bit about what that's done for the people in my tribe right now?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think you really hit the nail on the head that it had or it has 2 or 3 benefits, I think, for the folks that are in there. And obviously you and I see the same benefit in the groups that we're in together and the ones that we were in previously together. But I think when you're in the room, for me anyway, when you're in the room and you're around people who are doing the same things you're doing, or at least rowing in the same direction, right? So even if you were a small business guy and I was a real estate guy, us being in the same room together, we're rowing in the same direction, right? We're on an entrepreneurial journey. We're on a journey for freedom. We're on a journey for, passive income or active income or whatever it is we're looking for. We're on a journey in the same direction. And I think putting us in the room together, man, it recharges, for me, it recharges my batteries. It gives me new tips and tricks. And I might hear something from you. And even if we're in completely different industries, you could be a gutter guy. You could own a gutter company. And I hear a tip from you, a trick from you, an idea from you, a strategy that you're employing in your business. And it could help me with something that has nothing to do with the business you're in or even the industry that you're in. And it just hearing those little tidbits, hearing the little ideas, hearing the struggles you're going through, hearing the successes that you're having, man, it really, for me, it recharges me. And I think the same thing for the people in my group. Like every Monday we have a call. And I think, every Monday we get off that call and people, you get off the call and you're on a real high and you're ready to go and you're ready to fight the world. And then you go back to life and you go back to your job and you go back to your spouse that might or might not support your journey. You go back to your family, your friends, your coworkers, your colleagues, all these people who might or might not share a mindset with you. And it beats you down, especially if you're just getting started. You hear all the negativity, you hear all the reasons it won't work. You hear, you're watching, the news and everything's terrible. And you get beat down all week to where your motivation can sometimes wane. And then you get back on that call on Monday and you're recharged and ready to go again. And, for me, it keeps me on a high all week. And luckily, being part of multiple groups, I never really have a lag. So I go from one call to the next and my batteries just stay charged up. And then I think the second side of it, from a deal perspective, I believe you hit the nail on the head again with, obviously if I'm talking about a deal that I've got going on, maybe there's an opportunity for you to slide into that deal. Maybe there's an opportunity for you to help me take it down because it's something that you've done or you have capital to deploy or whatever it is. There might be an opportunity for us to partner together. If not, the fact that you heard me talk about, I'm taking down a 20-unit multifamily. And you go, oh man, one of those came across my desk like a month ago, but I didn't know anybody in that space. So I just let it go. Mm-hmm. And now the next time you hear about the opportunity, the next time you see that deal, you'll go, wait a minute. Some guys in my group can help me take this down, or some gals in my group can help me take this down. And maybe now you get into a deal that you would have thought was out of your league, out of your industry, out of your business, out of your scope. But now it's within your scope because you and I, we're a team. Like, we're all rowing in the same direction. We're all going the same place, and I can help level you up. You can help level me up. And even if one of the things we say a lot on there is like, you have no new problems. Like you don't, I don't care what problem you're facing. It's not new. There is somebody somewhere that has faced that problem. And even if maybe I haven't faced that problem, I might've faced ones that are similar, or me asking you questions about your problem might help you think about it in a different way that makes it just easy to solve. Man, there's so many benefits to surrounding yourself with people. I'm not even going to use the cliche and say like-minded, but people who are, going in the same direction that you're going in, to keep going back to that same thing. Surrounding yourself with those people, there are so many benefits that, man, if I could go back 7-8 years, and start over again, that hands down, that would be the only focus that I have. I don't care about my first deal. I don't care about finding, that one property that's going to make it happen this year. I would care about finding those people, my tribe of people who can really help me get where I want to go faster. And you said it cuts time off. Man, it's the shortcut to life. You surround yourself with people who are doing what you want to do or who have done what you want to do. Add value to those people, add value to the group, and the trajectory is amazing.
Yeah, it really is. So how long ago did you join your first group, mastermind, or whatever you want to call it? Some people don't like the term mastermind. I do. I love it. But some people have like this negative connotation about it. And I find myself gravitating away from those people who don't like the term mastermind. That's a side note. But I think it's a limiting belief that a lot of people have, like, oh, mastermind, that sounds culty or something like that. And it's like, no, I mean, like, so using real estate as an example, a lot of people go to these local real estate meetup groups like RIAs and things like that. It's the same exact thing. It's the same exact thing. So for me, I joined my first group about a year and a half ago, paid group about a year and a half ago. And I'm from that point to who I am today, it's like 400, 500% different. I'm at least 5 times different, better than I was a year and a half ago. So, and I like to ask everybody this question, like, how long ago did you discover the shortcut of paid groups?
Yep. First of all, you could not be any better than you are today. You're amazing. Second of all,
I appreciate
somewhere around 2020. So we pivoted in our business and started to lean towards larger deals, larger multifamily. We had never partnered with anybody. We never used anybody's money except for, bank money, obviously. But we were the down payment funds. We were any gap funding that was needed was our personal money, which I think is a huge, huge mistake. But it's all part of how we got where we are. The journey that we were on, I've said a couple of times that if I could go back and do it again, I would do it different. I wouldn't do a single thing different, because I wouldn't be sitting here today talking to you if the journey hadn't been exactly what the journey was. And it put us in a position that, that we've made some of those mistakes. We've had some of those successes where we can now share and help other people with us. I would not change anything. So if I say that again, I'm lying. I wouldn't change it. But man, we started in somewhere around 2020. We decided we wanted to play bigger, and to do that, we needed to step out of our comfort zone. We needed to be trained, right? We needed to stop being in rooms with folks that were not light years ahead of us, right? We needed to be the dumbest person in the room. And so I joined a group in early 2020. I think we were at a conference, and I heard some guys talking on stage, and I really liked their well, first of all, I liked what they were doing. They were doing, larger multifamily. That's what the conference was about. So I liked their business strategy, but I liked them personally. I really connected with them. I think that they, from the stage, not having met them yet, but I really liked their demeanor. I liked I don't know if morality is the right word, but their
values, maybe.
They're perfect. Thank you. Their values, their ideals as people. I really identified with them well. So I joined their group, and I spent probably the next year and a half really going deep in there and immersing myself, trying to meet everybody, taking advantage of every single opportunity the group had. Because I think that's really, there's a lot of people who pay for groups like that who don't take advantage of any of it. They pay the money and then they don't attend calls. They pay the money, they don't come to meetings. They pay the money and they don't interact in the, like if it's a paid Facebook group, they don't interact in the group. And then they wonder why they don't get the results from it, right? You didn't put yourself in, you didn't go all in. And I think because of that, you're never going to see the results that you could. So we went really deep. They've got 5 or 6 calls a week at this point. I think in the beginning they had 2 or 3. I was on every one of them, interacted in every way that I could, drove to every conference, flew to every conference that they had, really tried to immerse myself and be a part of the group. And that was in 2020. And then from there, we've consistently or constantly leveled up the groups that we are in, to some of the ones that you and I are in together now, which had you asked me in 2020 if I would spend that type of money to be in a room, that's just a room. I mean, there's we didn't buy a course, we didn't buy a thing. There's not stuff that comes with it. We're paying to be we're paying to be around these folks and be near each other. I would have told you there's probably no way that's ever going to happen. And I cannot imagine a better use of money today. If you've got one, please let me know. I don't know of a way to better use money to really change your trajectory and really move your business forward. I don't know of a better way to do it.
I agree.
I've not seen a better way to do it. So I agree with you. Who I was in 2020, joining that first group, I've shifted my mindset. That's the word I'm looking for. My mindset has shifted. My desire and my goals have shifted. My networking has shifted. The way I look at every deal has shifted. It's changed everything about our business and being in groups. And now, even you and I were talking to, before the camera started rolling here on a call that we were on yesterday. That even helps me reframe something just yesterday, helps me reframe my thought process going into potentially hard economic times, potentially odd economic times, really helps reframe my thought process as we go into that. So I love groups. They're the secret sauce.
Well, before we jump into the economy, do you want to share how powerful these groups are to you by sharing how much you spend annually or maybe monthly? I don't know. Do you want to share that or not?
Yeah. So I got no secrets, man. So right now we're probably spending every single month consistently somewhere around $6,000 a month to be in groups. And then on the yearly basis, and these numbers won't line up because I say that's consistently, that's every single month, no matter what. we're probably somewhere around 100 grand this year, maybe slightly above that in coaching, training, conferences, seminars, masterminds, all the different ways, all the different learning vehicles that are present. We're probably somewhere around $100,000 this year. And you know, I think I made a post about this not too long ago, and I got really mixed feedback. Some of the super successful people are like, "Hey, you're not spending enough, spend more," you know, and then a lot of the folks that are really just kind of spinning their wheels and doing the same thing they've always done and getting the same result they've always gotten, and you know, not really moving forward, told me how ridiculous it was that we're spending that much money, you know, and I look at it, nothing against them. Everybody's got a different business plan. Everybody has a different strategy. You know, we will 3x, if not 4x our business in the last 12 months, including the next month or two, because we have some things that we're closing. We'll 3x, if not 4x our business in 12 months. So
wow, that's huge, man. And so return on your investment, you're going to 10x your investment probably.
Way beyond that. Yeah, I mean, it'll be so that just the one group that you and I are in together, we probably 3x or 4x that one with one idea, and that's, you know, with the mastermind idea, which came from that group. So being in that group, I saw the power, I saw what could happen, and knew that we could make an impact on folks. And because of that, we've, you know, 3x or 4x the investment in the one group, because of that group. And a lot of it we end up putting back in, a lot of it we end up spending in meetings and doing other things that are fun for that group. But if I wanted to use that just to pay the bill to be in the group that we were in, easily. So no question, with the closings we have, with the other things we have, absolutely will 10x, if not, I mean, 20x probably the money we've spent this year in profitability from it or return from it. No question.
I agree 100%, man. When I first was like, hey, I'm going to pay for one of the groups that I'm in, it's $12,000 a year.
Yep.
And when I told certain people in my life, hey, I'm going to spend $1,000 a month to get in this group, and they were like, you're going to do what? We could use that for this, that, and the other. Like, why are you going to? That's crazy. That's insane. I've 25 times X'd that with an idea in the first month of joining the group. And on top of that, I saved myself about $120,000 on the first conversation I had with our mentor.
Yeah.
$120,000. I had a problem in business and I said, hey, I'm having this problem. Here are my options to fix this problem. And within about 4 sentences, he gave me the answer because he's gone through these type of things before. And had I stuck in that business, this is trucking I'm referring to, had I stayed in that business over the next 6 months, I would have lost $120,000.
Man.
And I didn't even have to pay the 12 grand up front. I just had to pay $1,000 a month to get in. So I paid this guy $1,000 for his advice, and it saved me $120,000 like that.
Yeah, and that's
absolutely insane.
Oh yeah, it's funny when people talk about, you know, the folks who naysayed to you, saying that $12,000 a year was ridiculous or a waste of money or whatever it was.
Yeah.
If you would go to those same people right now and say, if you hand me 10 or 12 grand, I'll hand you back 120. Are you in?
Yeah.
I mean, every one of them, of course. How many times can we do that transaction? How many times can I hand you this 12,000? You know, they just don't. I don't know why a lot of people don't see it that way. And I think the problem is people are so brainwashed that everything is a scam. People are so brainwashed that there's no value out there. And of course, you know, on these groups, folks make money doing it. Of course they do, or they wouldn't spend their time doing it. But as you and I hear a lot, if you pay attention, right? Yes. So the fact that, you know, I've got the 2 groups behind me, and in one of them, a lot of people who come, they come one time, they never come again. You know, it's probably 15 people a month that I see them one time, they never see them again. They're putting their toe in the water and they're never coming back. Yeah. Or if they do come back 2, 3, 4 times, they've never bought a deal. They might not ever buy a deal. And it's sad because, you know, it's a free meeting and they just come and dabble, and then they get burned out. Maybe they get kicked down by like all those things I mentioned earlier that really, you know, the negativity can compound and really make it, you know, to where once a month is just not enough to keep you engaged, and they just bow out. The other group where people are, you know, you're paying to be there, you pay attention, like you're in, you're involved. For the most part, people try to get as much out of it as they possibly can. And those are the people who turn that $12,000 into $120,000 very quickly, because not everything in your life is a scam. There are scams out there, of course, but not everything in your life is a scam. And I think if you identify with the person who is your mentor, if you identify with their brand, with their methodology, with their mindset, chances are the other people who are in the group are going to share that. Because I wouldn't join, you know, your group if I didn't like you as a person and share at least some common traits with you. And chances are the other people in your group probably would as well. So the chances are all of us are going to get along, we'll click, everything will work. And it'll even, I'm not, for the groups that I'm in anyway, I'm not paying for you necessarily as the leader of the group. I'm paying for the other relationships. I'm paying to go to the meeting and meet the, you know, whatever one of the groups we're in, it's about 100 people. I'm paying for them. The
Mm-hmm.
the guy that runs it's a bonus. Like, and he's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. But
Yeah.
he's a bonus in it. My $12,000 was not for him. It was to be in the room with you. It was to
Yeah.
be on this podcast with you. It was for the relationship that we'll form and do something in the future together. That's worth the 12,000. He's a bonus.
Absolutely, man. Well, so let's talk about the future a little bit. What are you guys doing right now moving forward with higher interest rates and knowing that the economy is changing and, dare I say, we're going into an election year?
Oh, yes, we are. So we've pivoted just a little bit. Like I said, we really about a year and a half ago, we're my wife and I are economics nerds. We love, so anybody who follows us on Facebook, you'll see regular economics posts from her and myself. So about a year and a half ago, we kind of knew that things were going sideways, or that the way things were, and obviously most people feel this way, the way things were not really sustainable. Something was coming, and I think we just had a little bit deeper knowledge that things were coming. So that's one of the reasons why we pivoted to see, not really in like a defensive mode, but how can we add other income streams that would be less affected? How can we still, we set a goal for 2021 of what at the end of the year, we want our cash flow to be X. And, to get there at the time in January of 21, when we set that goal, it was a number of doors. That's how we were going to get there, was by adding X number of doors to our portfolio to get to this end goal of X amount of cash flow. Somewhere around the middle of the year, we were realizing that we weren't hitting any deals. Like, we really weren't finding much that made sense. We found some smaller deals. We did a couple little things, but we weren't finding anything that was going to get us to our end goal. So we had to pivot and figure out things that were, we still wanted to vertically integrate and keep things in the real estate space. That's our space, but we had to figure out other ways to do it besides stacking doors. So that was one of the reasons why we started the property management company. Regardless of where the economy goes, people obviously can take their units back and manage them themselves, but regardless of where the economy goes, people need management, especially because our avatar for clients is really, people who've got, 50, 60, 70 doors. Those folks, chances are they're not taking their portfolio back to self-manage it, because nobody wants to do that.
No.
Why would you? So we thought that was a pretty safe play, going into question mark economy, but also something that gave us more infrastructure for our own business, something that helped us grow our business and vertically integrate with what we already had going on, put us in a position to possibly capitalize from a deals perspective, put us in a thought leadership position in our market with other landlords who came to us for advice and things like that. So really, that was the first step of preparing for economic uncertainty, was pivoting to or adding on other income streams that would be independent of the door stacking method that is usually, how you grow in real estate. That was the first thing. Second thing, I don't think, I hear a lot of naysayers who say that deals are dead. There are no deals. I fully agree. It is harder to make things work at an 8.25%, 8.5%, 9% interest rate than it was at a 4%. Obviously, you'd be foolish to not think that, especially since prices really have not come down, in relation to that increase in interest rate. But we have found deals. Like I said, we've got 3 or 4 things under contract right now that are closing in the next month or two, hopefully, that the deals still work. That there's deals out there. You just have to work harder to find them. You have to do more, whether, if you're somebody who enjoys the off-market sourcing, the calls, the cold calls, sending letters, driving for dollars, whatever your strategy is, you got to do more of that. Or if you're, like on my side, where none of that stuff gives me energy, more networking, more putting yourself in a position to be part of deals, putting yourself in a position, with wholesalers, with agents, with tired, burned out landlords, whatever it is, putting yourself in a position to be the deal maker when the time comes, is where we focused our strategy. And that's, again, one of the reasons for the networking groups behind us was, beyond helping folks and everything else, was to put us in a position to capitalize on deals. So I think there are still deals out there. So we're doing the work more. So we're focusing our energy more on finding deals that work, on finding partners that we can work with, really on, and, I think folks are taking their foot off the gas because they think there's no deals. Folks are stepping away, waiting for some economic shift to happen where they think prices are going to come catastrophically down. And whether or not that happens, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know. I have a theory. But whether or not that happens, deals still need to be made, right? There will still be people who have circumstances, folks who just don't want to be landlords anymore, people who are retiring, same as in blue collar businesses. There's people who are, at the end of their working years, at the end of their journey, and they want out. Same thing as present in real estate. You just have to be in the right place at the right time to get those deals. So I think those are really the two things we're doing, is focusing on doing more of the work, not less, to get deals, and pivoting to other income streams to help us weather a storm.
Yeah, I definitely agree that in order to do deals, you have to get more creative. You have to see both the upside and the downside. You have to mitigate your risk more than being attracted to appreciation. Right now, real estate is all about cash flow and continuity of operations.
Agreed.
If people out there think that they're just going to buy something, sit on it for 6 months to a year, and they're going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars, that's when those people are going to get burned. Just like in 08, 09. Were you invested in real estate prior or during?
No. After, at the end.
Yeah, at the end. Sure. So you picked up my scraps is what happened. So yeah. we were in it. We lost big. And I mean, we lost really big. I had to go through a bankruptcy in 2011 because of it. Now, everybody thinks that bankruptcy is this like nuclear option. For me, it was my saving grace. For me, it was like, hey, this is how I don't lose my mind and, possibly hurt myself or do something even, more catastrophic. And I want to just touch on that point really quick, because no matter how bad it is, and we're going to get into like life and family, no matter how bad it is, it's never that bad.
For sure.
We hear a lot of this kind of stuff go on with when there's financial downturns, where we hear a lot about people taking their own lives. And they feel like they failed their families, men especially. It's extremely high. Suicide rate in men is extremely high when it comes to finances. If they feel as if they weren't able to take care of their family, support them, let them down, they feel like their only option is just to get out.
Sure.
And that is never. So this is like a kind of a public service announcement at the same time. But, I'm also sharing this and I know that you agree with me, to let everybody know that like we're here to help. If there is anybody out there that has anything that they're really struggling with like this, and they feel like they can't talk to their family or they can't talk to their friends, like we are confidential confidants. People can reach out to any of us and we will understand what they're going through because we've been through it before. So that's my little 10-second PSA that it's never that bad.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, anybody, feel free to follow me on any of the socials. I'm most active on Facebook. If you've got a question, need help, need a sounding board with someone, man, I'd be happy to be that person to help you out and work you through it. Like you said, there's every business has ups and downs, every job has ups and downs, every whatever you're doing in life has ups and downs, and I don't think it's ever that serious. It's never that big of a deal. There's people that love you regardless of your bank balance. That has nothing to do with your value here. So man, reach out. There's always somebody.
Absolutely. Now, this is also assuming that people have listened this far into podcasts to get to this point.
Put it at the beginning. Move this part. Edit it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We'll do that. So cool. Hey, let's talk a little bit we talked about future, the economy. Let's talk a little bit about how you're incorporating or adopting new technology into real estate. Real estate is historically just like a handshake, a pen and paper kind of industry. So how is technology disrupting, especially in the multifamily space?
I don't know if I have a fantastic answer for that. I think, I see a lot of the technology really working in, kind of the wholesaling space, the deal sourcing space. I see a lot of the technology working or growing. I see a lot of technology working in the operational side of multifamily, single family, any of the real estate, which I could touch on that in 1 second. So I'll come right back to it. And then I see a lot of, what personally affects me. I see a lot of AI and a lot of the technology coming into play in really the content creation type space. Like this video, there's a lot of services out there that can help, because I'm not a very tech savvy person. You are far more tech savvy than I am. There's a lot of software, a lot of AI, a lot of programs out there that can really do a lot of the work of video editing, cutting long-term videos or long form videos into reels and other things for social media, which I think is critical. For anybody watching this, I got the sign right here that says that your network is your net worth. If you're not using social media to drive your brand, if you're using it to look at cat pictures and talk to your Aunt Gertie, like you're not using it the right way, right? There's money to be made on social media. There's partners to be found. There's deals to be found. Share what you're doing. Tell people your story. Tell them what you got going on. Share pictures. Share your wins. Share your losses, and your network will grow. And with that, your net worth will grow. No question. It's not up for debate. If you disagree, talk to somebody else. But like that, it's 100% dead on real. Yeah. So if you're not tech savvy like myself, and some of those things are not your wheelhouse, make a Zoom video talking to someone about real estate. Go out to a property that you have and walk through and make an hour-long video just talking about what you're doing. And there's software, there's AI out there that can cut it all up for you and make it into really nicely packaged content. So now back to the side around operations. with us starting the property management company, we did a lot of research on how we can really make it, I don't want to say easy, but easy on the folks who are going to work at the property management company. And there is so much technology out there, whether it's, one of the biggest parts of rental real estate is showing rental real estate, right? If you've got 100 units, it can be a full-time job to just show your vacant and available units, or not full-time job, but at least a part-time job to show just those 100 units. So if you make that 1,000 or 1,200, 1,500 for a property management company, you need multiple people to go do those showings. Well, there's stuff out there now to handle that for you. There's software that can answer your inbound phone calls, that can set up appointments. You can put, robo locks on the doors that can handle all that. Very similar to any realtors who might be listening, like the program's called Showing Time and things like that. There's various things out there that really can eliminate or largely reduce the time you spend showing units. There's AI, there's virtual assistants, there's chat bots, all kinds of things that can handle your inbound maintenance, that can handle your inbound lease questions, that can handle your inbound property questions. There's all kinds of services and technology out there to really streamline and make the operations side of real estate, specifically rental real estate, dramatically easier if you take advantage of it. And if you need to know any of those type of things, reach out to me, send me a DM or whatnot. And I can help you find some of the programs that we're going to use in our property management company that would probably have, had we done this research earlier, could have cut the workload for us self-managing by 70%. I mean, I'm not even kidding, for a few $100s a month, it's not even largely expensive. There's 3 or 4 different services that you can add that are about $100 a piece that would cut your workload as a landlord down by 60-70%.
Wow.
And maybe if you've got 3 doors, that might not be worth the couple $100 a month, but if you have more than about 15, easily worth it.
A couple $100 a month to save hours and hours of your life. What can you do with those hours and hours of your life to trade for a couple $100? Find more deals. That's right.
Yeah. So if you hear, people tell you you talk to anybody who's not, again, back to that thing where life kind of beats you up in between those sessions of battery recharging. You talk to most people and tell them that you want to start a rental real estate business. You want to get into being a landlord, and they're going to tell you that you have to deal with tenants and toilets. I don't know why that ever became the thing. I've never gotten a 3 a.m. call about a toilet. It's just never happened. But you'll hear that from literally everybody. And we, for I think it's $100 base charge, and that covers the first 75 units. And then it's like $1 a unit after that or something. So if we're calling it $150 if you've got 100 units, we have a service that answers after business hours. They answer every call. So 5 o'clock until 5 o'clock p.m. until 8 or 9 the next morning, they answer every call. They attempt to troubleshoot it, and they'll call your preferred vendor for you. So if you do get a 3 a.m. toilet call, you're not getting it. VA's, there's so many things out there to eliminate whatever talking point your negative friends and family members have, that it's, but if you don't know those things, you don't know those things. But there's so many things out there that can eliminate that. And technology is rapidly expanding in that space. Rapidly
is the key term there. We'll touch on AI since you mentioned it a few times.
Yeah.
OpenAI, the founder or the creator of ChatGPT, just 2 days ago, they came out with a massive update, and I won't go into the details of the update, but put your seatbelt on. And it is going to accelerate the speed of information like we've never seen before. ChatGPT's been out for 1 year. It was last November when it came out.
Feels longer
because so much has happened in that 1 year. They're on their 5th iteration of GPT right now. And the next iteration is supposed to be 100 times more powerful than the current one. I don't even know what that means. I can't even fathom, right? My only limitation for what AI can do is between the 6 inches right here.
Yep, it's amazing.
The next year is going to be crazy. The next 7 years, it's going to change the face of the planet, literally.
I believe it.
And we're at the forefront of it. We're trying to capture the opportunity and not get left behind. The internet revolution, right? When the internet came out and we had the .com boom in the mid to late 90s, and then the .com bubble burst, of course. I think there's going to be a bit of a bubble burst when it comes to AI and different companies that are coming out. They're coming up with these companies and they're thinking that they're going to be the next $1 billion exit. We're going to have that over again. But this whole entire AI revolution is going to be so much larger. It's going to be the most influential thing that happens on our planet, that has happened on our planet, I think, ever.
Wow.
The Industrial Revolution was huge, right? The Industrial Revolution, canned foods. Anybody think about canned foods that much? I mean, I opened a can of black beans the other day to put into a salad, and I went, imagine how we can have a can of black beans sit on a shelf for a couple of years and it's still shelf stable.
Yeah.
Prior to 100 years ago, people would be getting dysentery from having beans sit on their shelf too long, you know?
Sure.
And so, the future, I think, of everything is going to move a lot faster. We talk about hockey stick growth, and right now the growth is literally a straight line. There's no more curve. There's no more graph. It's literally just a straight line up into the air right now. I'm excited for the future. I feel like companies who are not taking advantage of this technology are going to be left behind, and they're not going to know what hit them. They're going to slowly start losing market share. And it's going to be eroding beneath them, and they're not going to understand why. So another PSA to everybody out there, learn about AI, learn about what's going on. Even if you're just playing with ChatGPT for an hour a week, I would say that you'll be 90% ahead of the curve if you do just that.
I can see that. And it's funny because it makes me think of a quote. What you said there makes me think of a quote. And like I said, I'm not anywhere near as in depth on it as you are. I try really hard, but I don't know, I'm going to butcher the quote either way, but there's years where nothing happens, and then there's days where decades happen.
Yeah.
I'm somewhere close on the quote, but I think that's, I read the Chat GPT release that you're talking about, and it's mind blowing, the things that it can do and the time that it can, especially if you're an entrepreneur, especially if you're a solopreneur and you're really you are the backbone of your business. There is so much, like we talked about the chat bots that you're very, very in depth on, and like just the time that can save you, the money that can save you, the headache that can save you is so massive. And I think there's so many opportunities out there in every aspect of your business that there's something out there for you if you go and find it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, man, I feel like we've covered the past, the present, and the future now. Can you share a couple of maybe some books that you've read over the years, or something that's really kind of shifted your mindset? Because I think that that's an important part of all of us growing, is shifting our mindset and believing that we can do it, believing that, eliminating the self-doubt, but also believing we can achieve.
For sure. I'll give 4 if I can. I'll give 5, but the first one is a no-brainer for anybody. I already mentioned it once. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad. If you've never read, if you're trying to start your entrepreneurial journey, or if you're starting and having trouble, or whatever's going on, or if you've never read it, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, hands down, bar none. Obviously there's a reason it's the #1 most read financial book in history. It's place #1. Second one would be, it's called The Go Giver. It's by a gentleman I believe named Bob Berg, B-E-R-G. The Go Giver.
Yeah.
I think it's, from a mindset perspective, it teaches you or helps you set up your life in a way that you are a giver first. And that's not just about giving money. It's not about writing checks to the Boys and Girls Club, although that's part of it. It's about, how do you give first, right? How do you, if you want connections, man, help somebody else get them. Be a connector of people. Be a, hook your friend Steven up with somebody else that needs him, and that will come back to you hands down. If you've got, connections to give away, do that. If you've got knowledge to give away, do that. Find somebody to help with something, and the world will pour it back on you, no question. And it's a great book to help you form that mindset if you don't already have it.
Great book.
It is. Second one is The Power of One More.
Yeah.
Fantastic book about pushing yourself. Fantastic book about always going one step further, doing one more thing, making one more phone call, doing one more deal, running one more step, whatever it is that you're trying to do in your life, do one more, right?
Yes. So Ed Milet.
Ed Milet. Yep, sorry.
Ed Milet, The Power of One More.
The growth from that is so exponential if you just do one more all the time.
Do you know the premise and the history behind that book?
I don't. I mean, I've read the book, so maybe, but.
So quick side story and little stuff that not a lot of people know. My dad used to work with Ed Milet's dad. They were both in banking together. They worked and did commercial lending, and they worked at a bank together in Burbank, California, just outside of where the movie studios are. And Ed's dad was an alcoholic, and he talks openly about his alcoholism. And he talks openly about when his dad stopped drinking. Ed asked him, Dad, are you ever going to drink again? And he said, Eddie, I'm just not going to drink for one more day. And that is the premise and the power, and I believe the inspiration behind that book. And so really, really powerful message behind all that stuff. So if he cannot drink for one more day, then maybe he can drink not for 10 more days.
Yeah. I love it.
Anyway,
That's
didn't mean to cut you
powerful.
off, but I wanted to
No,
share that.
totally fine. The third one would be who, not how. And I don't
Yes.
remember who wrote that one, but it's all about finding the who's in your life that can help you get to where you want to go. So instead of constantly trying to figure out how to do the next step in your life or in your business or in your marriage or in your relationship with your kids, whatever it is, instead of always trying to figure out how, figure out who. So who can help you get there? And that kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier with being part of groups and networking and doing all the work to find those who's. So who, not how. And then last would be Magician Not Mule by Mark Evans. It is kind of along the same lines of that who, not how, but it's about being the magician in your business instead of the mule in your business, and really, again, finding people, finding systems, finding ways, still doing the work, still making shit happen. But how do you do that? By being the magician instead of the mule. So I think all mindset books for me, like there's none of those, I don't believe, have any real strategy, like go do this and your business will grow. It's all mindset. And I think once you've got that mindset stuff down, whether it's the pushing yourself harder through the power of one more, or finding those who's and becoming a magician, or if it's the go-giver and how you really make big changes in your life through giving, all of those things are so critical in forging your mindset and really moving you to the next level.
Yeah. Wow. Powerful stuff, man. Speaking of finding people, how can people find you?
So I have all of the various social media accounts. My most prevalent one is Facebook. So I'm just the Richard Gamble on Instagram. I'm the same on Facebook. If you search for me, my picture is with me and my kids. I think Robert Kiyosaki's in there, where one of my kids is being held by him. It's one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me. So it's kind of cool. But yeah, on Facebook, please look me up. We share a lot of project videos. We share a lot of, success stories, a lot of failure stories, a lot of things that we're doing. Like I said, we're big into economics. So there's a lot of that on there. Most of that stuff gets shared to Instagram as well, which, like I said, just at the Richard Gamble. So it's mostly on both of those, but I'm much more active on Facebook.
Wow, that's great. Well, Richard, thanks for coming on the My Mind Your Own Business podcast. I think that if I had one quote from you to wrap up an idea, it would be help people get what they want and you'll get what you want.
I love it. I couldn't have said it better myself, so I'm glad you said it.
I appreciate you being here. And everybody, remember, this podcast is done absolutely free. We do this out of the goodness of our own hearts. We want to help people get better and do better in their lives. So please, if you could share this with somebody who you think it would help them, that would mean the world to me. Really appreciate your time today. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.